Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Flip event. I'm Janae Armand, Head of Community Engagement within Microsoft's Learning Team, and I'll be your host for today's journey through Black history and culture. And I'm so excited to learn with you today from this conversation. We are continuing our learning with our AI and EDU series as we explore the transformative role of AI in education. Now, if you missed the previous events, don't worry. You can catch them on demand at aka.ms/flip events. And today, we are here to discover and celebrate the incredible contributions of Black individuals throughout history and learn how digital innovation can bring these stories to life. As you engage in today's event, we would love for you to share your learning and excitement on social by tagging at Microsoft Flip. So let's embark on this journey together and meet our incredible guest. So first up, we want to welcome Alan. Hey, Alan.
Hey there, Jornay. How you doing?
Doing well. Now, guys, Alan Antoine is the visionary director of computer science education strategy at Epic. He's a co-principal investigator with the Computing Educator Diversity Initiative, and he works at the University of Texas at Austin, expanding pathways in computing. Now, that is a lot. So, Alan, what do you love best about your work? And is there someone throughout Black history that has inspired you in your work?
That's some interesting questions. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody out there. Good day wherever you are. Thanks for joining us, and Jornay and the Microsoft team once again. Thanks for having me and putting on such a powerful event. To answer your question, the thing that I love most about my work is that I get to build pipelines to help support younger versions of myself in computing, and that's pretty much true of everybody. Everybody's got a younger version of themselves out there somewhere in the world, whether you know that or not. And you're powerfully positioned to help that young person reach their full potential. I do that by opening up pathways in computing for students who have been historically excluded from the field, especially Black students whom I identify with the most. Now, that question about Black history, that's a crazy one. Because, I've been in a bunch of Black history plays and did a bunch of poems when I was growing up. So to pick one person is a bit of a task. But I guess the first person that comes to my mind is a brother of the illustrious Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, George Washington Carver. I've always been a fan of the sciences, and he's someone who we learned about as an inventor and a scientist that inspired me to think about the sciences and focus on that instead of the arts. And he was also a great humanitarian who spoke out about the issues of his time. So I'll go with George Washington Carver if I have to pick one, but I want to pick them all. So once again, thank you for having me, Johnny.
I definitely understand that sentiment. It's hard to pick just one, but I think in your response, once again, it just connects to who you are as a person. So thank you for leading the way and thinking about what you can do for the next generation of people who are interested in computing. So thanks so much. Next up, we have Dee Lanier. Hey, Dee.
Hey, Nay.
Well, guys, Dee is such a creative person. He is the creative force behind Solve in Time, which is a problem-based learning and design thinking platform, and the author of Demarginalizing Design. So, Dee, what do you love best about your work? And is there someone throughout Black history that has inspired you?
Besides you? Okay. So I enjoy so many things about what I get to do. I love being able to work with both students as well as with educators of all ilks. And so I feel like much of what Alan said, I have the privilege of being able to not just multiply myself, but multiply my impact by working with educators and listening to the perspectives and seeing the creativity and really feeling the energy in spaces where students are, and then bringing that same thing back to teachers and administrators and having them all work on real problems that exist within their context and then thinking very creatively about how they can solve them. So I love being able to experience what's happening in a space and be surprised and amazed every single time. So I love that. And if I had to pick one, from Black history, I'd actually pick someone I've been learning more about recently, and that would be Lewis Latimer. I feel like so much of Black history is history that has been hidden from us, and history that has been suppressed intentionally. And so I kind of feel bad about the fact that I've been learning more about Lewis Latimer recently, but it's been a fun endeavor. Just looking at a man who was one of the contributors to what we know of the modern light bulb, but also an early founder of the creation of air conditioner, but also that he loved art and music, and so he was this mix of both science and art. And he was also a civil rights activist. And so I relate to him on multiple levels.
That's incredible, Dee. Thanks for shaping the way of the future in education and reminding us that there are stories that we know of from people in history, but there's untold stories as well. So that is a charge, I think, for everyone watching today. Think about the things that you're passionate about, and maybe even learn about someone new who has shaped the path for you to have this future that we're having right now. All right, so now we're going to welcome our final guest, Raja Karuth. Hello, Raja.
Hello. Sorry, my mic is muted. How you doing, man?
I am just so in awe that you're here right now. Guys, if you don't know, Raja is in the middle of a racing tour. So he is spending some time with us today. Raja is a trailblazing race car driver, full-time in the Craftsman Truck Series and part-time with Xfinity driver with NASCAR, as well as a dedicated student at Winston-Salem University, which is at HBCU, studying motorsport management. So Raja, what do you love best about your work? And is there someone throughout Black history that has inspired you?
Honestly, Mr. Onea, first and foremost, thank you for having me again. Hopefully you guys can see and hear me well. I think one part of my job, it's not really a job, first and foremost. It's great to be able to race across the country and see places that I never would have thought of seeing when I was a little kid. So for me, it's just getting to drive. That's the funnest thing. Climbing into the racetrack, as you can see, running at 150, 160, 170 miles per hour, close to the wall, and weeding through traffic. It's so much fun. For me, someone through Black history that I've really looked up to is none other than Chadwick Boseman. From obviously playing Black Panther, Jackie Robinson, and so many other prolific characters, representing Black history in this country and in the world. It's been cool to represent him with this helmet I've got. And unfortunately, he left us too soon. But the things that he's done for the community and for people that look like us to feel confident and go into areas that we're not in. I try to relive his legacy each and every day when I get onto the racetrack.
What a beautiful way to honor Chadwick Boseman and all of his work, Raja. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful piece with us. And as you all watch Raja and his racing, look out for that helmet and be reminded that, those who have come before us continue to shape what we do in the future. So today, we are going to have some pop quizzes throughout our episode to celebrate today in Black history. All right, so here's our first question with Microsoft Copilot. On this date in 1926, what we now know as Black History Month was first celebrated as Negro History Week by this person who is known as the father of Black history. Is it A, Langston Hughes, B, James Baldwin, C, Carter G Woodson, or D, W.E.B. Du Bois? All right, who wants to take a shot at this question? And those watching, if you know the answer, pop it into the chat. We want to see what you know. And don't be afraid to use Copilot to help you out.
I happen to know this answer.
Go ahead, Dee. Take it.
Well, okay. Actually, I won't take it. What I want to do, because this is what I like to do, is just allow others, those who are watching, to look at the connection between Black History Week or Black History Month and President's Day. So why is President's Day and Black History Month in the same month?
That seems like a real good co-pilot question right there, D. I think you teed it up real good for that one.
Great co-pilot question. And so hopefully that will spark lots of learning. And today's answer is C. Carter G Woodson is the father of Black history. Now, we can leverage Copilot, just as Dee shared, by looking up more information to connect these ideas. Today, we are going to use Copilot to assist us in writing a thank you note to Carter G Woodson to thank him for his contributions to the celebration of Black history. Now, remember, when you use Copilot, give it clear instructions, provide context to help the tool understand the task, and then iterate and experiment to get the results that you want. All right, so let's see that in action. There we go. We have in our prompt that we've thought carefully about, and now Copilot will utilize all the things to pull together information for us to continuously learn. So thanks, Carter G. Woodson, for your dedication to preserving and uplifting Black history. We are standing on your shoulders as we continue this vital work. All right. So now this is the perfect time to transition to our first question for our panelists. All right. So I want to know, can you share with us, why is learning Black history essential for all students? And I'm going to start off with Alan for this question, because Alan, I know you were a former educator.
Yeah, definitely. So why that's a really robust question. I think I could talk for a half hour. I could do a keynote on this, but I'll keep it pretty short. What's giving me inspiration right now is looking at Dee's shirt that said slavery and sharecropping and now ownership, and it's making me think about this, just the reality that this country was very literally built on the backs and the sweat of Black people. Yet growing up in school, we only got 28 days to learn about and talk about those people that were so pivotal in the creation of this nation. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. We've got to make it a point to learn more about the contributions of African Americans, because I think that more than anything, and just at its simplest level, we need more empathy in this country. We need to care about other people. And that's how you develop empathy, is by learning about people and kind of understanding their struggle. We need to know why things are the way they are in this country. I talk about marginalization and inequities in computing and in artificial intelligence. I do this all the time, and with facial recognition software in my job. But if you know the history of America, the history of policing Black people and Jim Crow and segregation and everything that went on in this country, you'll understand more of the challenges that still exist, like the things like gerrymandering, redlining, just different things that still take place. And it gives context to why certain people struggle in this country, and why we need to have more people in education and creating students or helping students to create pathways for themselves to be the next generation, right? We need more students of color creating more technologies and doing the preparing for the new jobs that are going to be coming up in the 21st century. So understanding our history and understanding the history of Black people is going to be important for all people to kind of understand where we're going in this country.
That's a very good point, Alan. And, Raja, as a student, what do you think about when you think about this question as a student? Why is it important for you as well as your peers to learn about Black history?
I think it's extremely important, just because, I remember in high school and middle school learning about prolific people in our culture like Langston Hughes, Frederick Douglass, to name a few, especially growing up in the DC area. And I think it's important because it's imperative to know about where we've come from, and also the good we've done, and the ways we've changed history to the point where it affects us today for good and for bad. I even think about, in my studies at Winston-Salem State University, taking my African American Studies class freshman year with Dr. Virgil. And so it was great to learn about the good we've done so far, and how has it affected our current status as a country to this day.
Wow. And big shout out to your university, and also having a course readily available, and I think for schools, think about, do we even have either courses, or are we implementing within our current curriculum opportunities for students to learn about Black history across the curriculum every single day, not only during Black History Month. So thanks for sharing that perspective. Now, some of the best learning experiences come from firsthand accounts. which we know as primary sources that have been preserved primarily in museums. So in partnership with the King Center for Nonviolent Social Change, Microsoft has helped to digitize over 315,000 minutes of video and audio and 12,000 artifacts related to the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the American Civil Rights Movement. In honor of that work, they have unveiled the Coretta Scott King Rose Gallery. This is a new virtual museum that offers a glimpse into the life of the architect of the King legacy, Miss Coretta Scott King. And as Dr. Bernice King, their daughter, recently said about her mother, when we finally get a chance to digitize all of the work, it's going to fill in the rest of the gaps related to the movement and even before that time. And we spoke about those gaps a little earlier. And as you can see, this is the museum. You can go in, you can click on an image inside of the museum and learn more about it. So if you can't get to Atlanta to physically go to the King Center, the King Center can come to you right inside of your classroom. All right. And so big shout out to the team who worked to make this possible at Microsoft and the King Center. Now it's time for another pop quiz. All right. So today in Black History, presented by Copilot, our question is, on this date in 1865, this amendment to the Constitution abolished slavery. All right. Who knows the answer to this question? If you know it and you're watching, pop it in the chat. Use Copilot to help you.
I think there was a Netflix documentary, wasn't there? I'm trying to pick your memory of where you might have heard this before.
Yes. So it is, drum roll please, it is the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. All right. And so once again, we just saw the power of bringing valuable resources to life with virtual museums. Now I'm wondering, how do you believe that AI can magnify the opportunities for students to learn about Black history? And I'm going to kick this off to Dee, because once again, Dee also was a former educator. So what do you think, Dee?
I think the opportunity to utilize AI for leveraging it to allow for your curiosity to take you down a pathway that you may not have originally expected, right? So know that there are effective means of utilizing AI in order to discover answers or to get sort of responses that you're after. And so I think, knowing how to prompt engineer and doing that well, of, giving whatever AI tool that you utilize a persona and giving it a purpose and then giving it some parameters, and then whatever results it gives you, continuing to practice and polish those results until you get what you're after. But that's just part of it. The other part is actually exploring and learning about things that may have come up from the results. So for instance, with that last question, you may find the answer of the 13th Amendment, but you may also read and see that there's an exception, and that's for those who are imprisoned and incarcerated. And so then to continue to ask questions about incarceration rates, and then when they increase and why did they increase, and allowing yourself to explore and learn, and then also obviously checking the citations and reading, clicking on those links and seeing and diving in deeper. You can get lost in a good way if you're utilizing AI effectively to learn more about Black history.
I love that, Dee. I would say my kids would always ask me a question, and then they will do like a follow-up question, right? Because the curiosity was there, right? And as you're speaking, that's what's coming to mind, right? If you have a thought in your mind, either Copilot or another AI-powered tool can be that vehicle to help you learn and really expand your curiosity, right? And make connections to the things that might be a little bit difficult to make connections with without those resources. So Raja, I'm really curious from a student perspective, how do you feel AI can magnify those opportunities for students to learn about Black history?
I think AI is really cool, just because I guess this is a quick anecdote. So for our Cup Series teams, we have this, I guess it's an algorithm. It's a form of AI where we look at, the optimal lap to pit, how to have just the perfect strategy for our races on Sundays. So I wanted to share that. I thought about that earlier, and that's really cool. But I think kind of the piggyback off of it, I remember being younger and just having such an interest in, you know, the history of African Americans in the sport of NASCAR. And I got a lot of that information through online or through working online. And so without the addition of AI, so I can't imagine how useful it would be nowadays to see the history that we've continued to grow inside the sport of NASCAR. And there's a really good way to do it through the use of AI. And so I think that's my personal thought of it, just because I remember when I was younger and wanting to just learn more and more about the sport, period, let alone representation of us in NASCAR. I know it's just a useful, if not a better use of a tool now to do so.
That's incredible. So one, you utilizing AI to learn about the representation within the sports, but then also the little known facts. And one of our viewers even shared that she didn't even know that NASCAR also had truck racing, right? So, once those curiosities are unlocked and people want to know more about that, and AI is a great way to just kind of learn and leverage the technology to continue that path. So AI can equip our scholars with the tools needed to help them explore their passions at a larger scale, as they also explore their passions and make their own history. So I want to know, how many of you are fans of hip hop? Any hip hop fans in the house? All right. In our audience, any of you fans of hip hop? All right. I want our guests to finish this phrase. Hip hop is.
Soundtrack of my life.
All right, go ahead.
I said us.
Ooh, hip hop is us. I like that, Raja.
I thought about that one. That's a good one, Raja. Hip hop is culture. It is the culture.
And I said the soundtrack of my life.
Yeah, it's the 50-year anniversary, right? Is it this year? Or was that last year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 50th anniversary of hip hop. Alan, you have a word for us?
Culture is the word, and I just think that it's not just our culture; it's every culture now. Everything is hip hop is entrenched in everything that we do. All of the media that we see, it is the culture.
Absolutely. And, hip hop is more than just music. As Alan mentioned, it is a culture. It is a movement. It is a form of expression that captures the voice of generations. So just like we have textbooks, we can learn about history through hip hop, right? And students can create their own music and flow to capture what's happening in today's society as well. So yes, as Raja mentioned, we just celebrated 50 years of hip hop, and Microsoft is the official technology partner of the Hip Hop Museum in the Bronx, New York. So together, the Hip Hop Museum and Microsoft developed an AI-powered tool called Flow Scholar. The digital experience guides creators through a rap building process using brainstorming prompts, and then supports them in finding their own personal flow and unleashing their full creative potential. So let's check it out.
You broke it, Ice. I broke it.
Hip hop is a youth-born culture started by kids in the South Bronx. Out of it came a music, out of it came a dance, a lifestyle, and the way you wear your clothes and the way you feel about life. It's a beautiful thing. Hip-hop has a very tight connection to technology. A lot of the innovations in music come from people walking into technology, not knowing what it's meant for, and using it a different way. Being creative like that is part of what hip-hop is all about. The hardest part about writing a rap is the first lyrics. Where are you gonna start?
The biggest challenge about being creative is staying in a box, or like listening or following rules or traditional ways of doing things.
AI can give you amazing ideas on how to start.
It's a great tool to get your ideas cooking, get you to start thinking in different ways. But like I say, no matter what the AI does, it will be difficult for it to pick up humor and shade and variations of things. And that's where the human has to come in.
Oh yeah, that's where the human comes in. So whether you're a seasoned hip hop lover or just starting to discover its magic, you can become a Flow Scholar with this guided educational experience by Microsoft Copilot. Just fill in the prompts to spark your creativity and edit your lyrics to fit your personal vibe, and you can begin your flow at flowscholar.thhm.org. Now, that's super exciting and always great to see these innovations just come forward. And just remember, it's for you to enable and spark your creativity, not to replace or be the creative. So I believe this speaks to the fact that we, which includes all of you who are watching, that we are creating history every day by our actions and sharing our passions with the world. And speaking of creating history, let's take a peek into the history being created right now by Raja. All right, Raja, I know you just achieved your personal best, maybe, in a recent race. Tell us a little bit about your inspiration and how you learned to drive.
Yeah, I think for me, my interest from racing started really when I was 4 or 5 years old, from seeing the Cars movie when it first came out, and then getting like different toys and stuff. Fortunately, I was able to go to my first race when I was 12. But I didn't start driving until I was 17. I was a senior in high school. And before that, for the year prior, I began racing online. And so I did well enough to make the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program. And yeah, I made the team, the youth program, when I was 18, 19 years old, or I guess 17 to 18 years old. And then got developed all the way to a couple years ago. And last year ran my first full-time year in NASCAR, racing trucks full-time, Xfinity part-time, and this season now I'm going on year 2, and started off the season pretty nicely at Daytona with the top 5. So we're going with Spire Motorsports here in Chevrolet, and I'm excited to continue with HendrickCars.com and have a good year with us.
That's incredible. So starting off from watching cars and then having a unique opportunity with NASCAR as a student. I mean, I'm thinking about teaching my daughter, who's now 13 going on 14, how to drive. I can't imagine a race car driver at the age of 17, 18 years old. So I want to know, what does it mean for you to make history?
I think it's pretty special because I remember being a younger person, growing up in DC and being very like landlocked away from racing and it being a whole different world. And so I remember every day after school just sometimes honestly being hopeless of like, man, I want to do this, but I don't know if it's going to happen, you know? And so for me, as I get to travel the country and race and meet different fans and different states, different regions of the US, I just remember how it was when I just wanted to get my foot in the door. And so I feel very grateful to be in this position. And I mean, that's it. That's all it is for me. It's just being authentic to myself and being in the moment and also having fun, you know?
I love those tips. Be authentic, be in the moment, have fun. Those 3 things that everybody could take back with them. Now, Raja, I know you have a racing schedule that launched this month. What are you looking forward to the most in this series?
The next race. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think we ended the last season pretty strong, and we're trying to keep that momentum flowing in the right way. And like I said, Daytona started off pretty well, so I'm just looking forward to the next race. And that's this weekend, Saturday at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So if you can't pull up, it's in Hampton, Georgia. If you're not unable to, you can watch at 2 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1.
Awesome. And hopefully I'll be there live. But for those of you who want to follow along on Raja's journey, we do have a flip group readily available for you with Raja's schedule, as well as ways that you can tune in live on various streaming platforms. So go ahead and, take down this link for the group or scan the QR code to follow along with Raja on his journey. Now, what an incredible experience. I know Raja has to leave because he's busy racing right now. So Raja, thank you so much for being here with us. We really appreciate you.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Hopefully everybody has a great rest of y'all day.
Awesome. And JB, if we want to roll that clip for our viewers of Raja, let's do that now.
He knew it was NASCAR from the beginning. Singularly minded. Clear, crystal clear.
says, I want to be on a championship level Cup Series team. Well, if that's the goal, then this is the place for him to be.
The way Raja did it is the first playbook of how that next sim driver gets into a real life car. It's a little bit of an absurd story that we just have never heard before.
I don't think that Roger views himself as a pioneer. I don't think anybody gets into this to be a pioneer.
What makes me comfortable with committing everything to racing? It's just because I think it's my purpose. It's what I'm supposed to do.
He will fool you into thinking that, hey, I'm just a quiet, young athlete, but on the track it's totally different. Very aggressive. You can tell that he's thinking in the car, he's going to make it happen.
I think that's when he got everyone's attention and was like, it's kick and drive.
What an incredible experience. Definitely cheering for Raja. Dee and Alan, I know you both are bursting with pride just seeing our youth create history. So what advice do you have for our viewers of educators, students, and families when we think about next steps for learning and making impacts in their schools and communities?
Sure thing. Dee, I know I'm speaking for you as well when I say I think we both got a new favorite race car driver, right? Like that's crazy. I am definitely inspired right there about all things, right? And seeing the youth doing different things is amazing. When you ask that question about like, what advice I have, I did a presentation a couple of months back and it's called, I'm going to look for the link, but it's called Sports and Hip Hop. What young Black men are truly interested in. And that was the title of the presentation. It's on YouTube. You can probably search that up. And I asked a bunch of high school age African-American men. They were young men in California, in Louisiana, in Texas, on the East Coast. I just was reaching out to different friends and people I knew. And they all spoke to so many different interests, so many different things that they want to do. And it really got the audience. And I want to kind of push that message out to you guys as well. We're not a monolith. When we talk about Black men and Black people in general, we come in all different shapes, sizes, with different interests and different things that we love and different things that we want to do. So ask questions, really get to learn people and build relationships. That's going to help educators in figuring out what are the best ways to approach their students. But also to students, follow your interests. Whatever you want to do, you can do. Like if you could see it, you can achieve it. I oftentimes say that you can't be what you can't see. So we need more role models stepping up, as I mentioned earlier, speaking to that younger generation and showing that they can be in these spaces. But and one other thing that I think I definitely want to say is that the world is changing. What we went to school and learned in my day, in the 2000s, in the 90s, is so much different than what's out there and needed. We were talking about AI a little bit earlier. Like we need to open up things like Copilot and let students learn about these things because they need to be prepared for the world that there is to come, not the world that was 15, 20 years ago. So just really opening things up and giving them pathways to do the things that they're interested in and really like telling them, giving them the experiences to be able to really be motivated to be in these spaces that they're needed.
I love that word pathway, Alan. The one thing I'm thinking is all the opportunities that have not been presented to our students, right? And AI is another door to open up multiple pathways for our students, not only to be able to figure out maybe some interests they don't even know they have, right? Every day is a learning opportunity. And so curious, Dee, what, advice do you have for our viewers? I know you're going to come with it.
My brain and my heart are both overflowing right now, and it's because of all the richness that's been a part of this conversation. Hey, I would say a little bit of a repeat, but a deeper dive into exploring your own passions and your interests. And as we were talking about Black history and talking about the use of AI, and then also, utilizing your curiosity to follow different pathways. I often tell people all the time, you don't have to be an anti-racist in all things. But what you can do is become a curious learner and anti-racist in whatever things that you are most interested in. And so, for instance, right, it's Black History Month. And so it's really, really easy to say, well, we can explore these different folks in history. And so let's look at who some of these major figures are, and that's significant and that is real. But what does it look like for an art teacher to look up 28 different African-American artists and their contributions in history, and for science to do the same, and for math to do the same, for social studies to bring in those civil rights activists, for students, for you to go and explore in whatever area you are most interested in, for Raja to explore and to learn about others that have predated him, not only in driving, but also in the entire, architecture, if you will, in race car, in NASCAR and racing, right? So the ability to explore, to learn, and to dive deeper, I think we can utilize certain prompts just to ask a question and then ask it within the parameters of, give me 28 of those. Don't just give me one. Don't just give me your top 5. I need 28. And then to even dive deeper beyond that and say, what does it look like to go to 180? Because that's how many days there are in a school year. And then let me continue to explore and maybe utilize that tool that we were just introduced to, and maybe tie in another one of my interests, which is hip hop, and let's make a song about it, and let's add some rhythm to this poetry that I'm now doing. Like, allowing learning to be something that you do and not something that you're told to do. Allowing learning being something that you love and not just something that you're given instruction and an assignment and something that you're graded on. So that's my biggest recommendation, is to really, really love learning with the use of these tools, and to explore what your current passions are, and be open to becoming interested in things that you may not have even found yourself interested in before exploring them deeper.
What great advice, Dee. And, I'm thinking about that research process. It is now like a snap, right? To be able to not only get 28 names, but maybe even asking the AI powered tool significant contributions or struggles, or, challenges or awards, or things that that maybe you are interested in learning more about, right? And so you do have that opportunity with Copilot or any other AI powered tool to be able to get that information in seconds. So, I just want to say, as we conclude today's event, I want to give a big, huge thanks to our panelists for today, for sharing your passions, your wisdom, and your innovation. You are all an inspiration, and I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us.
Thank you. And thank you for the work that you're doing, Jornay. We definitely appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Now, I encourage everyone to continue exploring Black history through the resources that we've shared. Leverage copilot.microsoft.com, the Coretta Scott King Rose Gallery. There's also a similar experience for the 1619 Project. Check out Flow Scholar to unlock your creativity, and join Racing with Raja Group to make history together. All of these resources can be found at our link, flip.com/Microsoft Copilot, where you can re-watch today's event and access all of these additional resources. We want to invite you to share with us your experiences and ideas in this Flip group. And we also have a wonderful collection of curated topics for you to learn, honor, and celebrate Black history throughout the year at aka.ms/celebrate BHM for Black History Month. Since this event is coming to a close, I hope to see you in our upcoming AI and EDU series. We have incredible episodes coming up where we will be diving in with more experts to learn about this exciting topic. Remember, learning from the past is how we shape a better future. So thank you for joining us today, and keep innovating, making learning fun and empowering. Bye, everyone.